I'd like to call to order a meeting of the Greenwood Advisory Plan Commission for Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. Do we have anybody online?
Yes, we have a few plan commission members.
We don't see
I
them.
don't see them, that's why I was asking.
Can wait for it.
And Carol, is there a way we can do a gallery mode?
Well, what I'll tell the audience is if we do have commissioners who come in online, then any vote that we take is a roll call vote as opposed to raising hands and ayes and nays.
And we should also be able to see the.
Yeah, you have to
We
see
have
them
to
in
see
here,
them for them to be able to vote.
So if you are at home, please use your camera feature.
Steve was on there earlier.
Yeah, Mr. Milburn was there earlier.
Well, it says 4 participants, but I only see 3.
Because there's only.
Good for Steve.
Oh, you have in Greenwood, that's 2 of them. Well, I guess we lost our petitioners online, so we do not need to do a roll call.
If they do show up, we'll move to that mode. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the meeting of May 12th, 2025. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve. And you guys all should have received a draft meeting. Perfect. That was revised. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Lexi, and we have a second by Ms. Stanball. Are there any questions about the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, please show by raising a hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. We have special requests and continuances. Mr. Nelson, do you want to weigh in on these? You want me to just handle them, or?
Yeah, I can kind of introduce them because I believe there are probably people here in the audience that attended due to these items being on the agenda and receiving possibly a notice in the mail or seeing a Daily Journal article. This is for both Lincoln Park annexation. This is on County Line Road. This would be in the northwest corner of the city if it were to be annexed. And then this is also for the Stone Hill annexation. This is the Arbor Homes annexation on Honey Creek Road, kind of in the south end of the city. Both of these petitions worked with staff on developing a schedule. However, we worked out the schedule with them. However, the applications were not completed, and some of the applications were ever changing. So I did not accept the applications as completed applications. We need to have the completed applications so that our public notice that our legal department does for annexations is correct. And we have a time period that we have to get that motion out, or that, not motion, that notice out. Thank you, Sean. So since we were unable to meet that deadline, I consider both of these incomplete. It is likely that they will come back. They will need to renotice for these annexations. So you should get a notice when they renotice for the annexations. Since they did not declare, what the date was or know what the date was, we couldn't continue them. So I'm just asking for a new schedule. So keep an eye out for these. If you have any questions or want to contact my office to see if they've applied or filed, you're welcome to do that, and we'll be happy to answer any questions we can.
So as these are not considered, there's no action needs to be taken by the commission.
No, I just simply put them there as a placeholder since I know that people are likely aware of these happening due to the notices. And I thought if they were to view the
For information purposes.
agenda, they would maybe wonder why they were not included. So I included them under special requests and continuances.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is findings of fact. There are none. And there is old business. Under old business, do you mind if I skip over A and go straight to D?
You sure can.
Sure. If Item B on this is PC 2025-015, Creekstone Primary Plat. And Paul Clare, VP of Land Acquisition and Development for Taylor Morrison of Indiana, has formally requested that their project be withdrawn from consideration. Dave, you want to, Mr. Nelson, you want to
Correct, so
address that?
we had worked with this project for some time, PC 2025-015. Unfortunately, they were not able to make the sewer system work for this project, and they are going to relook at this project, continue looking at it. However, it will likely be a different project than the one that you have seen before, and for that reason, they have asked to withdraw the petition. And there's no action that is needed since they've now withdrawn it. They're not proceeding forward, and we have not had a vote on this project yet. So with that, we have just removed and closed out their petition. They have, and there's no action needed.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is actually the previous one on the written agenda. It's PC 2024-050, the UDO text amendment. Unified Cities Unified Development Ordinance. There are amendments proposed by the Common Council that are forwarded to the Planning Commission. Nelson?
Yep, so procedural wise, your recommendation was sent to the council, and if they propose changes to it, they need to send their changes back to you for you guys to review. With this, you can agree with the changes that they've made, and I will issue a report to our Common Council. Once that report is issued, it is considered to be adopted. If you do not agree with the changes or you have objections to the changes, you can also do, so we can do a written statement, and that can be certified and sent to Common Council, and then they would see it again at their meeting, and at that meeting, they would decide whether or not they're going to move forward with their proposed amendments, or if they are going to reconsider based on our report. The items that they changed were, one was about a privacy fence gate. It's pretty unlikely that we'll have privacy fence gates that will swing over sidewalks. But in the event that there is maybe a pre-existing privacy fence or a corner lot that maybe received the variance to have a fence along the side, we do not want the gates swinging open into the sidewalks when you cannot see behind the 6-foot gate. Not everyone is over 6 feet tall. So that was one that was added and amended.
Mr. Johnson, are these all highlighted in yellow?
Yes, they are highlighted in yellow. We did have the special exception requirements for data centers was modified. For that, they specifically were concerned about the water consumption. So instead of giving them different options of strategies they can have for low impact, they specifically said we want it to be that they need to recycle water for data centers if we were to get one. They also had a typo that staff had, the word trim was missing from a sentence. So it left them questioning what the standard was about. The word trim was added. And then finally, for single family residential building design standards, for the first path under our residential design standards, they wanted to ensure that if it was required for there to be 50% masonry on the rear of the home, let's say they had a double frontage on a through lot where they had 50% on the front and 50% on the rear. They did not want there to be an option for the two sidewalls to have 0% masonry. So they felt that if both the front and the rear were required to have 50% masonry, then the two sides shall also be required to have masonry. I will say this is for path 1, for path 2 and path 3, no amendments were proposed for our building design standards.
Are there any questions or comments from the commissioners?
I have a comment. Fencing types, did the regulations include industrial style or a commercial residential style?
So their amendment didn't specify, it just said it was for specifically privacy fences. The thought was if it was a transparent fence, you can then pretty well see people coming. We do require that all fences, whether it be commercial, industrial, or residential, be 2 feet back from the sidewalk. And then we do have standards for industrial and commercial fences that are slightly different from a residential fence. For example, a residential fence cannot be uncoated chain link. That would only be allowed in our industrial zone, industrial medium, and industrial large. Also, the fence height can be taller in our industrial zones, whereas in our residential zone, 6 feet is the maximum, and then 4 feet for front yard fences that stick out in front of the home. We also have some capacity requirements for residential front fences, but not for the rear privacy fences. And the design standards are a little higher for front yard fences in residential, whereas in commercial, there's less requirements there. The last difference is that like barbed wire or any of that
Razor wire?
spikes, I think razor wire, I don't know if that one's even allowed, period, but for some of those types of fences, that's only for the industrial zoning. You couldn't have razor wire for your residential fence.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
You guys want to make changes?
Yeah, but I thought they were pretty good suggestions for council.
Seeing no other questions or comments, I'll accept a motion.
I move to approve the recommended changes. I actually don't have it. I move the Greenwood Common Council Ordinance 25-13 regarding text amendments to the Unified Development Ordinance as amended and passed by the Common Council May 19th, 2025 be approved, and to direct the planning director to report the approval to the Greenwood Common Council in the Planning Commission's behalf.
So we have a motion by Ms. Stanbaugh. Is there a second? Second. We have a second by Mr. Price. Any last questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please show by raising a hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Is there any old business from the floor? Yes, sir. Please come
I just
forward.
have a question.
Come forward and
Oh,
there's a microphone on the podium here. Please state your name and address.
Yeah, my name's Alan Fina, 6072 North, 125 West, Whiteman. We're a little confused back here. So you're saying the Stone Hill proposal is not coming up tonight, so we don't need to stay for that, right?
Correct, and I believe I know they've changed names a few times. Before they named it something that was similar to another subdivision.
Aberdeen, yeah.
Now I think it's called, I wasn't gonna say it. Now I think it's called, Stone Hill is the name that they've settled on, and that's with Arbor Homes. Their exhibits were incorrect for their annexation, and then part of the annexation, you need to include the public right of way as part of the annexation legal description. That was excluded and later added, but the exhibits still were not correct. And for our notice, we needed to have all of those items. They have met with staff and they have worked out a new timeline that they're going to try to submit and hit. So they will likely be coming in the future, but for this meeting, although they had sent out the notices, the application was incomplete, and I believe the fees weren't paid for the application as well. So we did not accept it as a submission.
Okay, and so we'll be notified when it does.
Yes, you should be notified if you're within the 300-foot buffer. You should get a mailing, and then there is also the Daily Journal. Mailing here will post in the Daily Journal the legal ad stating the public hearing.
Okay.
With this, the city of Greenwood will also post our own notice for common council So it's a different meeting. Since they're doing both a zone map change and an annexation, they come to plan commission for a recommendation on the zoning aspect of the annexation. And they will provide a recommendation, but then they will go to council as well. So there'll be multiple meetings for this. They have a hearing here, they have an intro, a hearing, and a second reading at council. So there'll be a total of 4 meetings and opportunities.
Kind of like last time, so you guys do the zoning and annexation recommendation,
Yes.
so you don't really concern yourselves with the types of houses
So
and basically lot sizes, right?
we'll look at the underlying zoning and the annexation area is contiguous. But we typically don't get into all of the details as long as it meets our building design standards.
Okay, that's the next group,
Well,
after you guys send it on, right?
the design standards are approved by common council. I will say sometimes the product types or styles might impact a vote. But typically what staff will look at is the underlying land use and the comprehensive plan, and if it fits within the contiguous area of the city, we'd like to square it up and make sure that we're annexing something that's next to other parts of the city, and this is bordered by the city on multiple sides. So we don't necessarily have a meeting or a hearing on the building design. That is not something that exists in our process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fina. Is there any other old business from the floor? Seeing none, is there any new business? Is there any new business from the floor? Seeing none, announcements. Mr. Pioni is here once again. Are there any, okay. For the time being, Mr. Pioni is here.
Go Pacers, is that?
That's a good announcement. That's a good announcement. We're within the region.
Yeah.
If there are no other announcements, I will say that the next meeting for the Plan Commission is Monday, June 9th at 7 p.m. I'll take one more motion.
Move to adjourn?